We're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Cricket, to Cricket News Daily. And something we're going to be running a lot more than we have in the past. There's going to be a new show, and we're going to be running it a couple times a week. So you guys go do some cricket news and sort of stay on top of things within the South African cricket environment, as well as the world cricket environment, because there is so much that's going on in the in the cricketing world that we'd really like to sort of get on top of. And, you know, we did a lot of coverage of the SA20. And, people have been sort of asking us to do a lot more from a cricketing sort of perspective. So in case you've missed it, I'm actually going to put it up on the screen here. We do have a new official schedule, which did launch today, or which launched this week. It's going to change slightly for next week, but then it will be pretty finalized. And this is what it's going to look like. From next week, well, half of it for this week anyway. For the rest of the week, it'll run like this. But this is what it's going to look like. So basically, as you can see there, we're going to have a rugby news show on a Monday, Wednesday, rugby fan forum on a Thursday. In terms of cricket, we're going to have cricket news on Tuesday and Thursday, with a podcast live show with a panel happening on Wednesdays, which is the Bales Off podcast. And we're then going to have two football shows every week. We've got a Formula One weekly on Monday, as well as a Long Grass podcast, which is our golf podcast. We're then going to have the Daily Wrap, which is a live show, half-an-hour show with Stephen Kirker, who is a veteran journalist who is going to be doing a sort of a daily sports wrap. And then on Friday, we're going to have the Friday show, which is going to be a bit of a fun show that I'm going to be doing. It's going to take place in different locations and going to sort of see us really sort of get out there and do some really fun things. So that is the schedule. So as per the schedule, we are talking about some cricket today, and there's lots going on in the cricketing world. First of all, India obviously currently hammering Australia over in India in the Test series. We've got the England Lions playing against Sri Lanka at the moment. The Pakistan Super League is currently happening, where the likes of David Miller, Rai Rousseau are playing some really good cricket over there. So that cricket fans can be very excited about those contributions. But today I'd like to talk a little bit about SHUKRI CONRAD. I did a stream last week, Friday, when we did announce the test squad. And quite a controversial squad. A couple of players missing, a couple of players included, which may be a little bit surprises. And as sort of you'd expect, over the weekend, we kind of saw a couple of stories popping up in terms of players not being happy, being left out, or, the change of captaincy being a bit of an issue. But I think that it's a very positive change. And I think that I don't agree with all of the decisions he's made. I do think there are a couple of players who I think I would have instead. But the main thing is it's clearly his squad. It's clearly a squad that he has said, these are the players I want. These are the players I'm backing. Therefore, these are the players being picked. And the most important thing we saw on Friday was the fact that it was actually announced that the coaches will be leading the selection for their teams. There will be no sort of selection committee and a convener of selectors and stuff. It's going to be a different structure where coaches will select their sides, which is about time, isn't it? And so, again, you might not disagree, or you might not agree with some of the decisions he's made, but they are his decisions. And I think that's what's going to be, for me, the most exciting thing is that, if coaches perform or don't perform, first of all, there's nobody else to blame but themselves. They do have, not carte blanche necessarily, but they are responsible for the players they pick. And I think it allows them to be able to implement the structure, the game plan, and the culture they want to play. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least give themselves the best chance of getting it right. And now, in terms of Stampede Authority, we saw a change in Test captain. With Temo Bavuma being named the Test captain of the Proteas. And that meant that Dean Alga pretty much got the sack. He remains in the squad, but will not captain the side against West Indies in a 2-test series, which does get underway next week, Tuesday. So I'm actually going to bring up the squad on the screen, and then we can talk about it a little bit. We did have a dedicated stream to it last week, but why not have a little look at it as well? So there it is. That's the squad. As I said, the big thing is Temo Bavuma's been captain. Now, the reason I mentioned the fact that Dean Alga has been dropped as captain, inverted commas, is apparently he did not want to step away from the captaincy. Apparently, he asked SHUKRI CONRAD and said, I believe I can still lead the team. I want to still lead the team. Please keep me on. And they said, No, basically, that we've got a vision, and our vision is you as a bowler. I mean, as a batsman, fine, opening batsman, you're sorted, but you will not captain the side. Tim Boomer's going to captain the side. We believe he's the one, or Shukri Conrad might even be saying, I believe he's the one that's going to get the best out of this team. I believe he's the best person to lead this team. And Dean Elgar didn't have a bad captaincy record at all. He has struggled in the last year, both with bat and a couple of instances where people haven't agreed with his captaincy either. And I like the fact that maybe he doesn't like it, but Shukri Conrad's going, it doesn't matter. I'm not here to please players. I'm here to implement what I want to implement. And again, I like that. Even if you don't agree with it, even if it doesn't work, he's going to be accountable. He's gotten the license to say, I'm doing things my way. If they don't work, it's my fault, and I'll take responsibility for it, but I will not go down with things that are, with decisions that are being made that aren't mine. So if we look at the squad, for example, I think Gerald Coetzee ahead of Lungi Ngidi is a very strange decision. I don't quite know how you justify it. I do think that Lungi Ngidi is streaks ahead of Gerald Coetzee. I'm not even convinced Gerald Coetzee is the next best seamer in the country. But Shukri Conrad sees something in him. And on the back of a really good SA20, which is a completely different format, maybe he's taking a chance. He's rolling the dice and he's saying, well, let me see what you can do. And, I think the big thing is, people are saying it's about blooding players, about giving players a chance. And this is a big opportunity. I don't know if Gerald Coetzee is going to play. I think he will get at least one test. I do get that sort of feeling. I also think what's quite interesting is we're seeing, all-rounders into the side. Vian Mulder's into the side, in batting very well recently. Bowling hasn't really been sort of his main... Well, we all know he's a batting all-rounder, but he hasn't actually been bowling much lately. But very much... being backed for his all-round capabilities as a genuine all-rounder. I think Marco Jansen's obviously sort of moving into that all-rounder category, starting to earn it a bit more. We always knew he could hold a bat, but I think now he's showing that he can really hold a bat. Sinu Mutasami into the side is a strange one for me. I don't see why we need to have three spinners. I think that there could have been space for Lungi Ngidi and Gerald Coetzee. But good to see Rickleton in. Interesting to see Aidan Markham. He's going to go at the top of the order. I would have liked to have seen Antonio Dawes get an opportunity there. I don't think he might necessarily get a chance now, but he needs to be in the mix. But the main thing, as I said, and the thing that really makes me happy is Shukri Conrad's squad. That is the squad he wants. And again, even if you don't back him as the coach, if you don't agree with the decision, I personally, I think he's definitely the right person to lead the side and into the new dawn of South African cricket. But at least he's going to get the opportunity to implement things his way, and he's going to get the backing, to fail and to succeed, and whatever happens, at least he can't walk away and say, well, I was told who to select, I didn't select my teams, and all these things. He had the say, he was making the decisions. I do think it's a good test side, though. I think it's definitely a test side that can beat and should beat the West Indies at home. We do obviously need to perform with the bat. That's been a major issue. I think something like a Heinrich Klaasen is going to play quite a big role. He's playing some of his best cricket he's ever played in his career. And now we need to see him sort of kick on, really, and start showing that in multi-formats. I think in the one-day side, he's one of the most important batsmen all of a sudden. The T20 side, I think he obviously, on the back of S20, he stays in there. And if he can nail down a spot in the test side, then all of a sudden, Heinrich Klaasen becomes one of our premier batsmen from a Proteas perspective. And I'm in for it because, he's coming in and out of the squad. And for a long time, I didn't like him. But he's now starting to produce on the international stage, which is what we've, as fans, have been asking for a long time. And if he's now starting to do it, then let's roll with it. Let's not wait for him to finally start playing well in the international stage and then decide, actually it's time for you to go. Let's actually back him now when he's playing some good cricket. But the test series gets underway next week, Tuesday. But what's actually currently happening, and we're going to have a look at it, is that the West Indies 11 are currently playing SA Invitational 11, where the West Indies are finding things very tough and are currently going at a very, very slow run rate. And in fact, we're going to bring up that scorecard here in a second. So that is what is going on over there. And I think it's happening in Benoni, if I'm not mistaken. And the West Indies was SA Invitational actually won the toss and elected to field first. I think it's Vian Lover who's captaining the side. And in response, West Indies are currently 88 for 3 after 0.4 overs. But let's look at it. So we've got Raymond Riper, who's over there, 29 of 106, striker of 27. Jermaine Blackwood's come in just quite recently. He's going at 100 strike rate. But in terms of the dismissals, so Smangilisilo and Tlabile got the breakthrough of Craig Brathwaite, who is the big one to get when we do play West Indies next week. He is, their premier batsman. He is the captain. He's the man who you really need to make sure doesn't score runs against you. Because if he starts going big, you can be in trouble. So that's a very big wicket to be able to get. And really cool to see Thando Ntini get Tadnarayan Chandapal. Chandapal being dismissed by Ntini is a nice little throwback there. Devon Thomas also falling to Ntlabile there. So if you look at some of the bowlers, we've seen Cody Yusuf start with the new ball next to Thando Ntini, who's bowled a terrific spell of almost 10 overs with 6 maidens, just 9 runs off for an economy of less than 1, and a wicket. The other 2 wickets coming from Ntlabile. Klompo, Madamakane there, as well. Corbin Bosch to the side. Evan Jones, interesting to see him being back. Somebody who was playing second division cricket just a few years ago, now playing in an SA Invitational side. A couple of other very exciting players to keep watch out for from an international or from an invitational side is the likes of Dale Brevis being included. No Jordan Herman, but a couple of really nice players that have been back to do the job. And this I don't think it's actually being it's not being counted as a first class game because the West Indies are going to use their full squad, but it is the first time that Gerald Brevis will actually play red ball cricket in a professional capacity. So interesting to sort of see how they go there. But so far it's a pretty good start, I'd say, for SA Invitational. It would have been nice to see the West Indies maybe a bit more aggressive, but from an SA Invitational, I think they'll be very chuffed. Elsewhere though, there is some all other cricket happening domestically. There's been no play between the Titans at the moment. They're supposed to be playing over in Pretoria. At the moment, we've got the Hollywood Bets, who are going very well, and Sala Irvia, who I think is proving a little bit of a point. He was dropped from the test side, and he's replied with a terrific 100. And I think the big thing about that 100 is that SHUKRI CONRAD said he wanted to players who will play strokes, who will move games on. And, if we look at this Dolphins second innings at the moment, which is currently going on. So over 130 of 139, hitting 17 fours, 2 6, a strike rate of 93.53. He's gone out and he's played some shots. And not really been supported so far. Kaya Zunda finding himself there at the moment. If you look at the night's innings, it was pretty poor, to be honest. Not too many contributions. Matthew Kleinfeld was all right at the top of the order. But some good bowling performances from Keshav Maharaj, who gets his another 5 to his name, and that's important to see him getting some confidence. Otniel Barton following up a really good SA20 with 3 wickets there. We look at the Hollywood Bets first innings over there. Not too many innings to speak of, apart from a 50 from Ethan Barton. But more importantly, from a South African Test perspective, is this over here with Gerald Coetzee getting his maiden 5 just a few days after being named in the Test squad for the second time. He gets his maiden 5, and that was a big moment for him. You could see when he celebrated, it was almost in tears, sort of went down. Was very, very passionate about it. And as I'm saying, I think that's what sort of SHUKRI CONRAD's seeing, and that he's really sort of excited about, is that passion, that sort of Dale Steyn sort of drive to succeed. Elsewhere, the Dotbet Warriors got off to a really good start. They scored 438 for 10, all out there on a bit of a road. In at the Wonders over here. We look at that innings over here. Jordan Herman with a very brisk 71 of 90, hitting 9 fours, 3 6s. And the big thing about Jordan Herman is he's very highly rated, but he's been doing it against domestic attack, which everybody sort of is quite hesitant to talk about the quality of. This time he's facing the likes of Kagiso Rabada, he's facing Vian Mulder, he's facing Lutus Apamla. It's a good bowling attack, and he's still producing the goods. And Siyathemba Qashile, we've been waiting for this, haven't we? He burst into the scene where he was averaging like 70, I think, in his first season. He scored double tons, was called into the Proteas T20 squad, which was probably the wrong decision at the time, but he finally comes back and produces what he's actually capable of. So really, really chuffed to see that he's got and he scored those runs. They found it really tough going here. Interesting to see Kagiso Rabada, who apparently wasn't bowling quite sort of the pace and the aggression that he can. Not too particularly expensive, but not finding any wickets there. Lutus Apamla getting 4 though. Bjorn Patain chipping with 2. Vian Mulder chipping in with 2, which SHUKRI CONRAD would like. But I think the main thing for him in terms of Vian Mulder is to see what he can do with the bat. At the moment, we've got off to a good start there. Joshua Richards with a 60, Dom Hendricks with a 62, Temba Vuma not out on 35. Vian Mulder batting at 4 shows you how much they rate him as a batsman at the moment. and very slow going there at the moment for Vian Mulder, and he'll want to try and pick that up, but needs to go and score some runs going into the sort of the test series as well. I'll be interested to see if he actually gets picked and whether they really are going to back him to be able to do a job for the national side. And elsewhere, as I said, there's a very big match happening in a matter of hours, really, and that is the South African women Proteas are taking a get on Bangladesh in, I think it starts in about 5 hours now. I think it's 6:30 start, 7 p.m. start. I apologize, 7 p.m. start down in Cape Town. A win for the Proteas will send them through the semi-finals. They will have a home semi-final in the T20 World Cup if they can beat Bangladesh. Bangladesh has not won a game. And if you look at, the recent games, for example, we've seen the South African women get no results against the West Indies. They then beat India. They lost to Sri Lanka. That was a bit of a shock loss in the first game. They followed up with a really big win against New Zealand. They then lost to Australia quite heavily, and now they're taking on Bangladesh, who have lost the last 5 games in a row. They haven't won a game since before December. So it really is pressure on Bangladesh, but in terms of form, but they've got nothing to win. And for the South African women, everything to gain and everything to lose, to be honest, because they're expected to win tonight. They're expected to get the job done, and they need to get the job done because we need to see. Because at the end of the day, player cricket is player cricket. It's T20 as well, and I've been saying for a long time that I believe our South African women's side is they're going to win they could win a World Cup before our men's side probably could. And I genuinely think that we've got a bit of a golden generation going on. I think that, Don F. Maniko getting to the side would change things dramatically, and I still cannot back the decision not to include her. She's been one of our best players of all time. Would be captaining, all-rounder, chipping with both ball and bat. We struggle with batting as well. So I cannot back the decision not to include her, but there's still some quality players. Laura Wolfart has not had a particularly good tournament so far. So she'll definitely want to sort of try and pitch up this evening. But players like Marizan Cup, that's our big player, that's our star player. Shabneen Ishmael, running in with and bowling some really quick seam up. We've got Mhlaba, who is one of the top bowlers in the world at the moment in T20 cricket. She's been absolutely tremendous. Got such a nice action, that sort of left arm. Left arm orthodox, and Sunay Lewis is also somebody who's had a couple of decent innings, but leading the side, she'll probably want to chip in with a bit more. There's match winners in that squad, and if they can just get it right tonight, and then get it right in the semi-final, we could be seeing this side in a final. Chloe Treon, being promoted to vice captain, got a women's in a WPL contract as well. So we've got to back her to try and really sort of stand up as well. So there's really good players. I said there's a lot of match winners in this squad. It's just a case of them producing that performance when it really counts. And today it will really, really count. And unfortunately, we've got a bad history of Proteas teams in World Cups. The men's team very much earning that reputation. Now the women's team need to go and maybe they need to break it and earn their own reputation. It's difficult and harsh to sit there and talk about how South African teams are bad in World Cups and include the women in that when they never earned that reputation. But they lose today, it's going to be difficult to not draw the comparisons because they're now playing against team bottom of the log and all they've got to do is win and they're in the semi-final at home. At home. Come on, give us a home semi-final. So give us a trophy. Imagine the Proteas women lifting a trophy in a week's time on home soil. The first ever World Cup South Africa have won in cricket. Why can't it be our woman? Why not? Go and do it at home. Go and make it a Laureate Sports Moment of the Year, and watch how that will catapult women's cricket as well. Women's cricket globally is one of the fastest growing sports in the world. Let's be part of that hype. Let's go and start sowing the seeds for the generation to come that can then go and win us multiple World Cups. I mean, Australia women have been so dominant in cricket for years and years and years. It's actually boring, and they're men, to be fair. But why not? Why can't we do it, eh? If not, why not, is what I say. So that game starts 7 p.m. I really do suggest you keep an eye on that because it should be really entertaining. Elsewhere, I said the England Lions are playing Sri Lanka. And that's currently a game that's sort of precede that test series. A couple of England. Apart from that, we've got some Pakistan Super League matches coming up as well. I've been really impressed to see, if we go look at, I want to look at some of the stats in the tournament, and we can see some really good performances from our South African batsmen, shall we? Where am I at? I want to go to here. I want to go to the Pakistan Super League. I want to go to the stats. And I want to go to the most runs. And you'll see that Mohamed Rizwan currently tops the chart. But Riley Rousseau has played 3 games. He's batted 3 times, but not out once. He scored 189 runs, a high score of 78, an average of 94.5, a strike rate of 175, 250s, 23 fours so far, and 7 sixes. He's been absolutely electric. Dave Miller as well is over there. He's currently averaging 50 across his 3 innings, scoring 100 runs, a strike rate of 169. They're enjoying time over there. They really are. They're having a good time. And that's good. That bodes well for us. And hopefully they'll be able to translate that form into, well, with Dave Miller, will be able to translate that form into the Nash setup when he comes and plays against West Indies, as well as against the Netherlands, which is obviously very important from the World Cup perspective. We can't qualify outright. It's unlikely to qualify outright at this stage. We have to rely on Sri Lanka doing us a favour. But at the end of the day, it's all about momentum going into that World Cup and trying to find a team which we think can compete for the World Cup. Sullivan Lowe says players shouldn't be dropped to be encouraged to score hundreds. I disagree. I don't actually mind players. If players aren't performing, I don't mind players being dropped. And maybe players are not doing what they need to be doing, and coaches believe that extra motivation. There are plenty of stories of players who get dropped and come back and they're better than ever. Sometimes you've got technical flaws that you need to go and work on in domestic setup. You can't actually afford to sit there trying to work out a flaw in a technique and stuff like that in the international space. It's not the right place for it. So I don't mind players being dropped as long as it's justified. I think Lungi Ngidi, if he's been dropped in inverted commas, is ridiculous because his numbers and his performances recently have been phenomenal. So I can't really justify that one. But you can't argue Tennis de Bray not being picked. You can't argue Saul Irvia not being picked. Kaya Zorno not being picked. Even Carl Varane to a certain degree, and say that they've been producing the numbers which make them undroppable. So, and again, we've already seen the reaction from Saul Irvia. So maybe his test career is not at an ends. But he needs to go out and he needs to do what he's doing now. Maybe go get a county contract, produce the results, and say, listen here, I'm not actually done yet. You might be willing to throw me to the side, but I'm going to show you that I can still play a role, and you need to back me and bring me back into it and get me more involved. So yeah, maybe it's the best thing for him. But we're going to wrap up there. Thank you everybody for jumping in and joining me. As I said, these we will be having 2 live cricket news shows a week, as well as a panel discussion or a bit of a podcast type thing. We hope you'll be able to get some guests on and talk about some cricket a bit more depth and about certain sort of discussions, again, to the really, really juicy stuff in that sort of show as well. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.